The weirdest thing about working at McDonald's in 2126 is that it still smells exactly the same. I don't know how they do it. Everything else has changed. The meat, the packaging, the counter, the people, the city outside the window. But you walk through that side entrance at 5:58 in the morning and it hits you. Oil, salt, something faintly sweet from the bun warmers. Identical to footage I've seen from 100 years ago. I asked Linda about it once, my manager. She said corporate has the scent-on trademark, that there's a synthetic compound they pipe through the ventilation system to maintain it. I don't know if she was serious. I never looked it up. Some things you decide to just let be. My name's Dario. I'm 23, and I work the front counter at McDonald's on Westlake Junction. That's what they renamed the stop after the city merged the old subway grid with the elevated transit loop back in 2109. But everyone who's been here longer than 5 years still calls it by the old name, and honestly, so do I. Habits outlast infrastructure. That's something you learn working here. I start at 6 a.m. Not because I'm a morning person, nobody is, and anyone who says otherwise is selling something, but because the early shift pays 14% more under the City Activity Coefficient Program, some municipal initiative to redistribute foot traffic across the day, reduce peak congestion on the transit loops, keep the city breathing evenly. I don't fully understand the formula. I just know the money hits my account every hour on the hour, and after 23 years of watching my mom stretch a paycheck like it was taffy, I find hourly deposits genuinely soothing in a way that probably says something about my childhood. The place looks more or less like McDonald's always looked. Yellow, red, big M out front. Corporate calls it legacy brand equity and refuses to touch it. The bones are the same. What's different is everything underneath. The countertops are self-healing composite, antimicrobial. Scratch it with your fingernail and it seals over in about 40 seconds. We call it the living counter. It's unsettling the first few weeks, and then you stop noticing, which is maybe its own kind of unsettling. The floor tiles recalibrate their friction coefficient based on moisture detection. No wet floor signs anymore. The floor just gets grippier when it's wet. The windows tint automatically based on solar angle to keep the interior temperature stable without spiking the energy load. Little things, constant, invisible adjustments. The building is always quietly solving problems you didn't notice it had. Orders go through Cora. That's the AI system. I don't know what the acronym stands for. Nobody on the floor does. We've asked Linda twice, and she says she'll find out and then doesn't. And it runs almost everything you can't see. It manages demand prediction by the quarter hour, adjusts prep volume in real time, sequences orders across 5 stations simultaneously, routes tickets by complexity, and tracks every customer interaction for quality scoring. Cora decides how much beef gets thawed at 5:30 a.m. based on weather data, local event calendars, historical patterns, and about 40 other inputs I'm not cleared to see the full list of. Last winter, it flagged a Tuesday as unusually high volume 3 days in advance because there was a minor transit disruption predicted on the North Line that would reroute commuters past our location. It was right. We sold out of the breakfast sandwich by 8:45. I stand at the front counter not because I'm technically necessary, but because the company ran the numbers and found that conversion on add-ons, desserts, upgrades, extra items goes up 19% when a human being is physically present near the kiosk. So I am, functionally, a margin improvement tool with a pulse. My manager Linda told us this directly at onboarding orientation. No softening, no corporate speak. Your presence is monetized. I remember expecting to feel bad about that. Instead, I felt weirdly calm. At least it's honest. There's a dignity in being told the truth about your function, even when the truth is a little cold. Cora also watches the floor. When a customer stands at the kiosk longer than a defined threshold, I think it's about 40 seconds of inactivity, it sends a soft buzz to my wristband. Friction interaction, they call it. I'm supposed to approach and offer help. About half the time, it's someone who can't parse the menu, There are over 200 items now, customizable in combinations that technically number in the thousands, and they just need someone to narrow it down. What do you usually get? I ask, and that's usually enough. The other half of the time, it's someone who isn't confused about the menu at all. They just came in and stood still for a moment because outside is a lot, and in here it's warm and familiar, and nobody immediately wants something from them. Cora flags both situations identically. That's where I come in. The system is extraordinary at patterns. It's not great at the difference between lost and tired. The food. Yes, there are still burgers. Yes, there are still fries, still in the red cardboard sleeve, still slightly too salty in the way that makes you eat them faster than you intend to. But the meat isn't what it was. About 65% of the beef on the menu is cultivated, cell-grown, no animal involved in the process beyond the initial biopsy taken something like 30 years ago from a donor animal that has been retired and is, I assume, living its best life somewhere in an agricultural archive in Nebraska. The transition happened in waves through the 2090s and early 2000s, pushed partly by federal emissions mandates and partly by the simple fact that cultivated protein got cheap enough to undercut conventional at scale. My dad grew up eating conventional beef. He still says he can tell the difference and will tell you about it at length if you make the mistake of asking. Honestly, blindfolded, I can't reliably distinguish them. There's something micro, a faint textural thing, like the fibers are fractionally more uniform than nature usually manages, but you'd have to be paying close attention. Most people aren't. Most people are hungry and in a hurry and grateful something familiar still exists. There's also a classic natural line, conventional raised beef, third-party welfare certified, the whole thing, which costs about 2.5 times the standard menu price. The people who order it are almost always either over 60 or very online in a specific way that makes them want to consume authentic things as a statement. We don't advertise the distinction aggressively. The price does the talking. It always does. The strangest part of the job isn't the technology. I want to be clear about that. The technology is just the texture of the present. You stop noticing it the same way you stop noticing the self-healing counter. The strangest part is the people and the specific kinds of people that end up in a McDonald's at 7 in the morning in 21-26. There's a category that's expanded a lot since about 2095. City planners call them distributed residents in housing data. Regular people say nomads. They're workers, real workers, mostly in logistics coordination, content infrastructure, data review. But their jobs have no physical anchor. They rent sleeping units by the week or the month, sometimes less. They move between hub cities following contract availability, Chicago to Phoenix to Atlanta to here, then somewhere else in 6 weeks. They carry everything they need in one bag because they've optimized down to that. They come in, order something small, open their work surface on whatever they're running, and sit for 3 or 4 hours, sometimes longer. We don't remove them. The internal policy doc is explicit. Enforcing minimum transaction per hour thresholds produces measurable negative sentiment in the public network environment. Meaning, if I ask someone to leave and they post about it, our location rating drops, which affects regional ranking, which affects the bonuses of everyone in the building, including Linda, who has a kid in supplemental school that isn't cheap. So they sit. I bring refills sometimes without being asked. It's not in my job description. I do it anyway.
There's a man who comes in every Wednesday around 8:15, gets a medium coffee, black, no modifications, and the egg white sandwich. Sits at the window table on the north side, the one that looks out at the platform where the elevated loop runs. Watches the trains, doesn't look at a screen, doesn't read anything. Just sits there for about 40 minutes and then leaves exact change on the table. Actual metal coins, which almost nobody uses anymore, and walks out without looking at me. I've seen him maybe 35 times now. I have no idea who he is or what he does or what Wednesday mornings mean to him. But I have a theory. He comes here specifically because it's one of the last places in the city where you can sit somewhere recognizable and warm and have nobody try to engage you, personalize your experience, serve you relevant content, or optimize your time. Cora doesn't know what to do with someone who just wants to look out a window. It flags him occasionally as low engagement. I clear the flag and leave him alone. That feels like the right call. My pay. Baseline is the service Tier 1 minimum, which is set federally for my classification. But there are modifiers that make it livable. The time coefficient for early shifts, a foot traffic multiplier that activates above a certain hourly volume, and a customer satisfaction index derived from post-visit ratings that Cora aggregates in real time. Every interaction I'm flagged for gets scored. If my index stays above threshold for the rolling 2-week window, I get a bonus percentage on top. I spent the first 3 months trying to game it, adjusting my tone, my timing, the way I made eye contact, and just made myself exhausted and robotic. Then I stopped thinking about it and started talking to people like they were people, and my score went up. I don't know what that means exactly. Maybe just that sincerity is harder to fake than I thought, and Cora is better at detecting it than I expected. The building runs on a closed energy loop, solar capture integrated into the roof panels, plus grid exchange during low solar hours. No fuel deliveries. The packaging is fully compostable, breaks down in city soil in under 70 hours. That became federal standard in the mid-2000s, after the plastics legislation finally grew real enforcement teeth. Food waste is near zero because Cora's demand forecasting is accurate enough that we rarely overprepare. Whatever remains at close, and it's rarely much, maybe a few sandwiches, some units of fries, goes to the neighborhood redistribution hub 2 blocks east. Not charity exactly. It's cheaper than disposal, and it maintains our sustainability index, which affects access to municipal supply contracts. The altruism is structural. I think that's fine. Good things don't have to come from good intentions to be good. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. On slow mornings, standing at the counter with Cora humming behind the walls, and the self-healing surface doing its quiet thing, and the synthetic scent moving through the vents on its corporate trademark schedule. McDonald's has been continuously operating for close to 180 years. First location in the 1940s, San Bernardino, California. I looked it up once at 3 in the morning when I couldn't sleep. 180 years. This company has outlasted things that seem permanent. It kept selling burgers through pandemics and recessions, and 2 complete energy system transitions, and the protein revolution, and whatever the period between 2040 and 2070 was. The decade everyone old enough to remember it refers to only as the adjustment, and then changes the subject. And here it is, yellow and red, same M, same smell piped in through the vents, still here. I don't think that's a small thing. I think it means something about what people need. Not burgers specifically, not this company specifically, but the thing underneath it, the familiar, the reliable, the place that looks the same as it did when your parents were young, that asks nothing more of you than a transaction and then lets you sit. In a city that is constantly optimizing, constantly adjusting its friction coefficients and its traffic flows and its demand forecasts, there is something almost radical about a place that is mostly just the same. It's 7:44 now. 3 people just came through the door, college age, talking over each other, 2 of them with AR lens flicker, which means they're running overlays and only half present in the physical room. They want to split a combo and swap ingredients across 3 separate items. Cora flags it immediately as a complex custom order and bumps it to manual. That's me. I close out what I'm doing on the side terminal and walk over. "Good morning," I say. "What can I get started for you?" They look up. One of them, the one in the middle, blinks her lenses off, comes fully into the room, smiles a little. "Sorry," she says. "We're kind of a mess this morning." "That's okay," I say. "Take your time." And they do, and I wait, and Cora tracks the seconds. Some things don't change. The ones that do change slowly, and the ones that change fast, you stop noticing those too. Eventually, The same way you stop noticing the counter healing under your hands, quiet and constant, putting itself back together.